Welcome to the Awaken Man podcast. You join Mr. Benjamin Owen. You join Pete Taylor, and we've got a guest appearance. We've got our business partner, mentor, friend, and heckler, Mr. Yassine Dadabe, joining us today. Welcome, guys.
And we're in person. This is the first time we've done it in person.
Yeah, it is.
It's the first time.
Oh, wow.
And we've been doing this podcast for how long now?
A year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a special moment, actually. We're not only just here in person, we're live in Dubai. Pete's come over to Dubai, Yassine's flown over to Dubai. The three of us have got together to plan the next quarter, and we've come over to the podcast studios in Dubai to shoot a number of podcasts. And we're just, first and foremost, we are absolutely amazed by the quality of the equipment, the setup. It's been an incredible experience just walking in here, hasn't it?
It has. Ben, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about discipline. One of the things that I've noticed in my own Awaken Man journey and the journey of the guys that we've worked with is that discipline is probably the most undeveloped, unappreciated, and important things that a man needs on his Awaken Man journey. And having had struggles with this myself, having seen I've got excellent areas of this myself, we're going to look through the landscape of discipline today and how a man can cultivate discipline, because discipline isn't something that you have or you don't have. It's something that you do. And what we're going to have a conversation about with Yassine and Pete and myself is why a man needs discipline in his life, what types of discipline he can cultivate, and how that then might really impact his life when he starts to make considerable changes to these various areas. And yeah, let's get straight into it.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying, like, this is freaking obvious, but discipline is something that A, doesn't happen overnight, and B, is something that you can never stop developing. Like, the moment that you start to slow down is the moment that you start to fucking lose your discipline, right? And then that will affect every area of your life.
Yeah, and I also think it's somewhere that it literally it gets into every single area of your life. It's your fitness, it's your finances, it's your relationship, it's your career. I used to work with people who come into the gym and they say, I'm super disciplined when it came to my financials. Yeah, I'm super disciplined when it comes to my career. But when it comes to food, they would have this inability to practice what we'll talk about in a minute, is structural discipline, like prepping and preparing and making sure that they've got structures to make sure they're not overeating. And they would be coming to seek support and guidance in creating those structures to help them be disciplined in what they were doing.
Yeah. But for me, a disciplined man isn't just disciplined in their fitness. Like, to class yourself as disciplined, it's in every facet. Like, you can be, yeah, great, you can be disciplined in your fitness, but then if you're not disciplined in maintaining your relationship or whatever, or your finances, then you can't class yourself as a disciplined man. And like, being holistically a disciplined man is a great character trait to have.
Yeah, I think something I learned from Yassine actually is that what I saw is that when someone would come in, or say I've worked with someone one-to-one and they've built massive structures in their health and their fitness, they report much more advanced levels of discipline across their whole life. They would start to schedule better time with their partner. They would be more present with their children. They would be thinking bigger about their lives. And it's like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you're a guy listening to this podcast and you're telling yourself, oh yeah, I've got discipline here, I've got discipline there, but I'm not very disciplined here. Imagine if, like we say, a rising tide floats all boats. Imagine you started to practice what we talk about in this podcast in all areas of your life, and you start to see everything rise. I think you'd see a substantial increase in the areas you thought you were already doing well. And I think that's what's such an important part of this this character trait, as you said.
Yeah. This is how, like, for me, how I've done okay in my business career is because when I competed professionally, when I did like fitness bodybuilding, I had to form discipline. Like, there was just, for me to get on stage, I just had to go and train twice a day. I had to do fucking posing practice, right? Oh my God, I felt like such an idiot when I first started it, but I had to do it. It was incredibly painful because it was so out of my like natural way of being. But I just had to force myself to do that, and I had to force myself to eat, and so on and so on and so on, right? But then after I'd competed and I'd done okay doing that, like I got my pro card and I'd won some competitions, I was like, hang on a minute. If I can apply those principles to business, if I can then be disciplined in business, like I will back myself now because I know I've done it in the past, right? And I apply that all the time. Like I've done it in that area, and I back myself there. So I'm going to back myself doing it in a different area because I know I have the ability.
Yeah. What about you, Yassine? 'Cause you've got a pretty high level discipline, especially when it comes to reading, consuming, producing.
I think for me, if you ask most men, right, what do you value the most? And most men will tell you freedom. So what do you want out of life? I want to be free. And Viktor Frankl talked about this. He said that the greatest of the human freedoms, the last of the human freedoms, right, is our ability to do what? It's to choose between stimulus and response. Frankl said that between stimulus and response lies the greatest of the human freedoms, to choose my response, right? And psychologists actually talk about this, that there's gap between something stimulates me, something triggers me, and then my response, right? Psychologists call this expansive discipline, reactive discipline, right? In this moment, I get to choose how I react, right? Am I going to do the thing that's going to move me towards living a meaningful life that's aligned with my values, or away from it, right? And if you actually go through life thinking to yourself, well, my greatest value is freedom, right? And as a man, how can I be free? It's literally this, that moment to moment to moment, I'm making this choice.
Yeah.
If I discipline myself, so something triggers me, I want to jerk off to porn, for example, or I want to spend the whole day doom scrolling Facebook, and then I ask myself, right, that's a stimulus. I've got a dopamine hit, right? And then what's my response? My response can be giving, right? Or I can say, no, wait a moment. That in not choosing to do that, right? That's where I find my freedom.
Yeah. I use a tool for this, and we've spoken about this tool on the podcast before. What Yassine was saying there from moment to moment to moment. So like, hey, something's triggered me, so I'm going to go and jerk off to porn, or I'm just going to go and numb and watch Netflix for 3 hours. But if there are certain areas in my life that I know trigger me, and that I know that from that trigger I will go and do something like go and watch Netflix for 3 hours, I use that if this then that. So I'm like, oh, this thing fucking appears all the time. Like I'm always getting triggered at that same freaking thing. It happens like 5 times a week. Every time it happens, I go and watch Netflix for 3 hours. Right. Now, I've spotted this thing, and I can create a rule here. If I get triggered in that moment, I'm not going to go and watch Netflix. I am going to, and then positive action, right? And then that repeated then starts to build discipline in that area that I keep fucking up on.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah. And I think when we did the Inner Enemy series, we talked about this. It was this idea that in your biggest moments of growth, like if you listen to this, when we talk about reactive behavior, a lot of men have this huge force for growth. We want to create impact in our businesses. We want to invoke change in our relationships. We want to change our financial situations. We have this huge force and desire to do it. In that same moment, you're going to be tested with resistance. Like resistance, you can call it part X, you can call it your inner enemy. That is when you're going to get the biggest or the most likely times where you need to use your reactive discipline. So, for example, we talk quite a lot with on Awaken Man is this idea of deep work, and until I don't even think until the last 3 years I really knew what deep work was. I knew that I had to study when I was doing my my graduate degrees and undergraduate degrees, and I used to spend 4 or 5 hours in the library thinking I was working. Especially undergraduate degree, it was like I would go to the library at 8 o'clock at night and not come home at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking I'd done, 6 hours of work. But what had actually happened is I'd spent most of the time reacting to my phone, to people walking through, chatting to people, and actually my potency for my time was so poor. So I think if you're a man who has poor reactive discipline, it means that you allocate a lot of time to things, but you don't get a lot done at all. It means that you don't actually move forward that much. And I think what happens to a lot of guys that I speak to is their energy and their focus just sprays everywhere. So they haven't got enough power to move forward. They haven't got enough thought power, focus, attention, and they don't move forward. And that's why they're stuck in their lives. They're working really, really hard, but they're not getting anywhere. And I think that this brings us quite nicely onto the next part of discipline.
I want to jump in on this.
Yeah, jump in, please do.
Only because I feel like I've got something to say. And I was like, should I fucking say this? I was like, should I say this? But I feel the urge to say it, so I'm going to. This is a personal one, right? And I'm going to do a separate podcast on this. So recently I have become single, right? Me and my wife are separated. And I have noticed that over the last couple of weeks during the day that I have gone on to Instagram. Right, I was
wondering what website you were going to say.
Yeah, no. It's Instagram.
I was just wondering which.
No, but I look. I'm just being fucking honest, right?
Yeah.
And I've started to scroll, and Instagram is clever with the algorithm. So when beautiful ladies now coming up, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm a single man now, right? And I can look at that, but more of it is coming up because Instagram has spotted that. I'm looking at that, so more and more of that is coming up. And I have the urge to go and like masturbate during the middle of the day has just increased. Like I've noticed it in myself because I am aware. I'm like, fucking hell, this is like really, really increasing. This is me doom scrolling on Instagram and seeing more women and then having that urge to go and masturbate. This is like not helping my business. This is not helping me like progress. But that's like, and I'm sitting there reflecting on that, thinking I'll tell you, that's a fucking problem for not just me, but like a lot of guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys in committed relationships would hide that as well. Like I think a lot of guys, as soon as they have struggles in their relationships, that's one of the first things they do is they go and doom scroll, look at other women, have thoughts about, I've done it in past relationships, and it's a big thing for guys. But I don't think a lot of guys actually admit to that. They have Facebook, they have Instagram, they have social platforms full of women on there, and their attention gets fractured. I think we've talked about this before. If you want to control a man, the best way to control him is to fracture his attention into tiny little pieces, and he is helpless. He can't move forward because he can't focus. I think this is stuff. Daniel Goleman talks about that. Daniel Goleman talks about that. Attention revolution. Is that Daniel Goleman?
Cal Newport.
Cal Newport as well. I think they're both saying the same thing. It's like just if you want to get someone's attention and fracture it, means that they're not going to be able to have that execution on tasks that really move them forward in their life. Like I notice it when I sit down and to work in the morning. I've allocated deep work. If my phone is within 20 seconds of my hand, every part where I have to sit and focus or think and slow down and where I'm not just writing purely, if my phone is next to me, I'll pick it up. And I've noticed this. So what I have to do is I have to leave my phone in the kitchen. It takes me 20 seconds to go and get the phone. And this is actually a rule. It's called the 20-second rule. It's called activation energy. So activation energy is the energy it takes to go and act upon the habit, the thing. If that's greater than 20 seconds, it means I can't remember the statistic. It's drastically less likely that you're going to act upon that thought. Whereas if it's 20 seconds within your grasp or execution, it makes it exponentially more likely. So, for example, if you've a spendaholic, we talk about reactive discipline here. What do you think one of the most clever companies in the world did to make to literally control your ability to act on impulse, which was the one click, Amazon one click.
Yeah.
They made it so easy for you to have an impulse, so a stimulus and then a response, and then the choice in the middle. There's such a small amount of choice. You call them choice points here. A choice point. So the choice point is such a short time. within the impulse of thinking you need to buy in, it's so small. That's why everyone is, impulsively spending on it. Like, think about this. If you listen to the podcast, how many times have you ordered something on Amazon? You're like, I really didn't need that. It's just like when it comes in the mail the following day, you're like, it's my birthday.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? So you think that the thing that's fucking you up is the big things. So let's call it kryptonite. But the analogy is that it's not kryptonite that fucks Superman up. So you think, well, Lex Luthor has this thing over Superman where if Superman's in the room, he brings out the kryptonite, and that's what fucks Superman up, right? But if Lex Luthor was actually smart, what would he have done? He would have taken the kryptonite and crushed it into millions of pieces, right? And then put it in the air supply. Guess what? What you get? Kryptonite dust, right? So from the moment Superman enters into the room, right, the dust has filtered, right? And so now he's weak. And that's, the analogy is that for us as men, it's not the kryptonite that actually fucks you up. It's not the big piece of green rock from space. It's the tiny little dust, right, in our lives. It's those tiny things, right? So when we talk about, well, what fractures my attention, it's actually all of those little tiny things, right, that actually get us stopped in the moment. Yeah. So it's not just that it's, well, you know what, it's Amazon that's fucking me up, right? But it's all of the tiny things that I consciously and unconsciously choose to do with my time. So I'm scrolling Instagram, looking at girls in thong bikinis, right? Do you see that tiny little thing? Because you don't think you think yourself, well, you know what? Most men have an addiction with porn because they jerk off to Pornhub, but you actually haven't thought, well, you know what? Instagram, right? It's not big like Pornhub. It's not I'm like specifically going onto the internet and typing www.pornhub or whatever, or going on Google search and searching for whatever.
It's just in the favorites.
Whatever my fetish of the day is, right? So it's not that big thing, but it's a tiny thing, right?
I think.
And then if you add up all of those tiny little kryptonite dust in the day, right? Do you see that?
Yeah, I think when we had, do you remember we had? So one of the, we would say like the gurus of the men's workspace is a guy called Dr. Robert Augustus Masters. He will be coming on the podcast at some point. He's an incredible psychotherapist. He's a guide. He calls himself. He's worked with men for like, gosh, no, he's in his 70s now, and he says that men end up with a pornographic mind, and that they've watched porn and they've reacted to these images of women or men for such a long time that all it takes is the Instagram reel to get them feeling those feelings, those powerful urges, as Phil Stutz describes, in those moments where our part X, our inner enemy, our saboteur is attacking us. It's powerful primitive urges. So a powerful primitive urge, again, we're talking about reactive discipline, is like, I get this huge sexual desire whilst I'm in the middle of creating my, document for the day, or I'm getting back to a client, it's like, that's the way that the resistance will show up for us. So yeah, we're going to be tested with these powerful primitive urges. And I think what's really, really powerful when you put these things in place, like Pete said, with the algorithms, you have can you remember the Ulysses story?
The sirens?
The sirens. Can you tell that one? Because like that for me really kind of drilled that home.
Which part of it?
Just when the sailor's tied to the mast.
Right. So
yeah.
Ulysses is going on his hero's journey, and they're returning home, right? And they come to this island, and so the mythology is that this island is full of these beautiful sirens, right? And so it's called the Call of the Sirens. That if any man listens to the sirens, they'll be lured to their doom, right? And so he knows that none of his men are really have the discipline to say no to those, right? And so what he does is he gets all of his men to wear earplugs or whatever, right? And himself, what he does is he gets them to tie him to a mast, right? And that's how they escape the sirens. But it's literally because, and there's two parts to the story. So the first part is that he doesn't give in, right? the second part is some of the mythology goes is that some of the men do give in, right? And because they give in, the ship is then blown off course, right? And they literally end up, when the ship is blown off course, it literally ends up. So they within sight of home, right? And because they don't have the discipline to do what he asked them to do, the ship is blown off course, right? And so it's blown so far off course by the gods that it literally ends up where they start. And so it takes him another 12 years to come back home. And so all of those men on the ship who hadn't seen their wives, because the story with Ulysses is that he goes off to fight, if you watch the movie Troy, the Trojan War, right? And it's on the way back, right? And so they within the sights of Athens. They can literally see their families waving to them. They can see the shores of the harbor in Athens. And then they don't have the discipline to do what he says that they need to do, right? And the ship gets blown off, and they literally end up being at a place where it takes them another 12 years to come home.
Yeah.
And so all of the sailors end up dying, never seeing their loved ones again, except for him.
Here's the thing, right? That story's fucking extreme, right? But no, it's a fucking good lesson though, because this is your life, right? Like, if you don't take it to that extreme level, then hey, yeah, life will pass you by. You just live an average life, right? Because you're not treating your discipline to that extreme level, like in that story. Like, he tied himself to a mast, and then the consequences of them not being disciplined and giving in was another 12 years not seeing the family.
Yeah, but here's the thing about this story. So Heraclitus, right? So he was the most famous historian in the Greek world. He lived like way before like dinosaurs ruled Earth. But anyway, Heraclitus, he talked about this. There 100 men on the battlefield, right? 90 men are literally cannon fodder. They're there to be killed, right? And then he says that well, out of the 100 men, 90 are there to be killed. 9 men are like the soldiers. You should respect them and honor them. And then he says there's the one, right, who is a fucking warrior. That's a man with discipline, right? And so that was Ulysses, right? He was that one. But do you see that because the other men, they chose, right, moment to moment, they chose to be cannon fodder. And that's what they ended up. They ended up not seeing their families, so close to home, so close to Athens.
Wow.
They didn't have the discipline.
I didn't know that those two were linked, actually.
They get blown back off course.
Yeah.
And die far from home because they chose in that moment to be the 90. They didn't even choose to be the 9 warriors, right? Or neither they choose to be the one like fucking the hero of the story.
I think we covered this on Heroic Man the other day, and I think like a lot of the guys really took a lot from this story, because it's like choosing to be that one guy who's got the discipline, who's got the moral fiber to be able to say, do you know what, I'm going to lead my family, I'm going to lead the people in my business, I'm going to be one of those guys who's going to stand up and be counted. But actually the actual tool from this as well, guys, before we move on to the next bit of discipline, is what are called Ulysses contracts. And what they are is they are very similar to what Pete's talked about before, if this then that contract. So say for example, you do struggle with your spending. You say you struggle enormously with just that ability to open up your phone, click on Amazon, and then make a decision to purchase in a split second, get it off your phone. It's if you are struggling with going, over consuming food on the way home. Like I know a client, and she used to drive past McDonald's on the way home, and she used to drive into McDonald's, and she would say, I just can't help myself. And I was like, right, drive a different way. And it's building these short circuits to your habits and your practices into your daily life. But it's a conscious, it's like it's prehab, not rehab. You actually consciously build these into your days. And there's a number of these things that you can put on your phones and your laptops. And one of my favorite author, Sean Acor, says this is one of the biggest things that he does with guys who are, C-suite guys, business owners. He just goes through and is like, well, open up your laptop. How many pings, bongs, and bings do you have every single day that just rob your attention? So that is one of the best ways to deal with reactive discipline and reclaim that discipline. So that leads us nicely into the second type of discipline, which I think...
But I think even before that, so again, reactive discipline, right? And so the Stoics and the ancient Greek philosophers, they actually talked about this a lot. because guess what? 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it was a big problem back then even, right? And so the story is the choice of Hercules. You know the choice of Hercules?
No.
So the story is Hercules is a demigod, the son of the Greek god Zeus, right? But before Hercules became the hero that he was in mythology, before he went off to fight the Hydra and went on his hero's journey, whatever, he was just this young man, right, out and about in the countryside in Greece, completely at a loss of what the fuck to do with his life. He was searching for meaning, like searching for his purpose, looking for passion, right? So he's walking down this road, and this woman appears to him, right? She's fucking gorgeous, right? Like today, if you see her today, she'd literally be a 10 or 11, right? She'd be an Instagram.
That lady crossing the road today.
Yeah, she'd literally be an Instagram influencer model, right? And so she appears to Hercules and she says, "Hey Hercules, you know what? I'm a goddess, right? And they call me eudaimonia, which is happiness, right?" And so she says to him, "Well, you follow me. Guess what? Your life will be fucking easy, right? You'll have all of the wealth, right? You'll have all of the palaces. You'll have all of the orgies. You'll have all of the sex. You'll have all of the drinks. You'll have all of the food that you could ever want, right? Just follow me, right? Take the easy path, right?" And so Hercules is thinking about it because she's literally selling him the 90 days to a million dream, right? She's saying, "Well, you don't have to do the hard work, right?" And so this is his choice. Does he follow her? Because it seems easy, right? And in the next moment, another goddess appears to him, right? But the name of this first goddess was not eudaimonia. It was actually Vice, right? The second goddess appears to him, and if you see her, she's just average, right? Maybe she's a 6 or 7. She's not someone who you're going to Pete's not going to follow on Instagram and want to jerk off to, right? And so she says to Hercules, right, "Follow me." And Hercules is like, "Why?" And she says, "Well, if you follow me, let me tell you something. Life is going to be fucking tough for you, right? Your life is going to be full of a shit ton of obstacles, right? You're going to get knocked down. You're going to lose the ones you love, right? I can't guarantee you that you'll be happy, right? But what I do guarantee you, if you take this path, right, at the end of the day, you will be what the Greek philosophers call a virtuous man, right? You will literally live with virtue, right? And so the thing is, her name was in Greek arete, which literally translates to a sense of flourishing, moment to moment to moment, right? So arete, Aristotle described it as literally, right? That moment to moment to moment, I have a choice. So either I'm moving forward into growth, or backwards into safety and mediocrity and vice, right? And so the Stoic and Greek philosophers call the choice of Hercules. So Hercules, in that moment, had a choice. Either he could follow the goddess Vice and have this easy life, right? Jerking off to porn, indulging in his orgies, having as much drink, wealth, whatever, right? It was an easy life. Get up in the fucking morning, right? In his palace, under silk blankets, waking up whenever he wanted to,
Satin
right?
sheets.
And the other one was the second goddess promised him, right? That if you follow me, guess what? Life will be fucking tough. You will get knocked down. You will suffer loss. You'll suffer pain, right? And it's your choice. Which do you choose, right? And so Hercules in that moment, right? You see that reactive. He could have chosen the easy path, or he could have chosen the hard path, right? And we only know his story because he ultimately made the choice to do the hard stuff.
I think there's a lot of guys out there thinking like, well, I think if you do hard stuff, your life is easy. And we covered that in a couple of podcasts ago about this idea of not resilience, anti-fragility. Do hard things, and when you do hard things, your life will be easy. Let's move gears into the second type of discipline, which is structural discipline. And Mr. Structural Discipline himself is Peter Taylor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean this just comes naturally to me because I'm a systems and I'm a structured guy when it comes to business, and I just apply that to like anything that I do personally and professionally. So like routines and AM and PM protocols is what I respond to very, very well. And it's so like having structure there that I know that I need to follow day to day to day to day to day to day to day. And that then leads to me having discipline because I just do the same thing over and over and over, even when no one's watching, right? And
People are watching now, aren't they?
they are watching now because I'm now very vocal on Instagram.
Yeah, I think I actually have the very same thing around the morning bookend. I just never publicized it. I train every single day. I write every single morning, and it's something that you said like when no one's watching, but actually just documenting it every single day has been it's been a reminder of like how disciplined I am in this arena, and I've noticed it. It's like this is what guys crave. Like this is what for me it gave me an enormous amount of safety and security in my younger years, just creating structure on my training. I think so many guys struggle emotionally because they haven't got this type of discipline. They haven't got the structure. They're all over the fucking place. One day they'll go to bed at like 2 a.m. The next day they'll go to bed at like 9 p.m. because they're shattered. They either that or they'll stay up late all the way through the week trying to get work finished. Then they're knackered on the weekends. They have a lie-in until 11. Their sleep routines are all over the place. Their blood sugar is up and down like a yo-yo. Everything that is a symptom of this type of discipline is what they're at mercy to every single day. And that is why they struggle to output that at the level that they know that they're capable of. And I think there's like a lot of guys, like if you're listening to this, if you think about this, like your energy's up and down, your mood's up and down, your testosterone is up and down, you can't create habits and patterns because all of a sudden you have a day where you're just down or emotional or unfocused. This is the type of discipline you need to build. And I think what I noticed is that they've never had it modeled to them. Like I spoke to a lot of guys, and they just to begin with, they never have had a practice in their life which really forced them to create this level of structure.
Yeah, and depending on what sort of season you are in your life and what's important to you, that structural discipline will be different. Like if you're in a season of like I need to fucking get my money right or I need to get the business right, like that, then the way that is structured might be different to someone who's got absolutely that right, but is focusing on their health.
Yeah, I think the most important one to prioritize first, if this is something that you do struggle with, is your health.
100%, 1,000,000%. I'm a massive advocate of health first thing in the morning, like straight away. To be able to just there's nothing fucking else that will elevate your state and elevate the way that you feel and increase your energy output by training, by hitting a workout, by like focusing on your health. The first thing, like when I wake up in the morning, I'm not like jumping out of bed, spring happy. I haven't got a big smile on my face, but like I go and hit the gym, and I don't necessarily want to get in the gym. Like it's often cold in there, and I've got to go and put my body through some pain. But after I put my body through some pain, I'm feeling fucking great. Like my endorphins are so high. I'm ready to take on the world. I don't think there's anything else that you can do that's within your capability first thing in the morning. Like what else is there that can elevate your state that way?
Yeah, I think you put it quite nicely a while ago. Is like confident. Confident is intense trust. The root word of confidence is this intense trust that you're just going to do what you said you're going to do, and especially when it comes to your health. When you get up every single morning and you say I'm going to train today, and you don't. Like your first waking thought off the pillow is I've made myself this promise that I'm going to go and train, or I'm going to go and move. I'm going to do something that's going to change my state, which I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people, they get up in the morning and they make themselves some sort of promise, or they've made it the night before. Tomorrow's going to be different. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. They've always put like tomorrow is going to be the land of the things that are going to happen in their life. And we can talk about that on a different podcast. But they make a promise to themselves that today is going to be different. And then they're faced with that, the reactive discipline. Do I make that uncomfortable decision to get out the warm sheets and into the cold gym, or go and do something that hurts? And they make that tiny little decision and I love how Maslow talked about this, was that you you think that you're making comfortable decisions, but you're not. You're making a comfort decision that takes you back towards what's called psychopathology, which is anxiety, depression, it's a suicidal ideation for some guys. It gets that dark where they've made such comfortable choices when they've got, and then they turn around after, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, even a year, and they're like, I don't know how I got to this state. Well, what's happened is you've just made comfortable decision after comfortable decision. That's how you've got there. And the only way to reverse that is to start making hard choices. And as Pete said there, it's actually now your structure facilitates that you make that hard choice and makes it so much easier. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So once that structure is in place, it's like, well, this is the structure that I set out. These are the promises that I've made to myself that I'm going to commit to. And then, like, rather than like validating yourself on the outcome of I'm going to have a six pack, or I'm going to have $1 million in the bank, or I'm going to be having better sex, right? Rather than validating yourself on that outcome, it's validating yourself on just doing the fucking actions and actually on not breaking the promises to yourself over and over and over and over. And it doesn't matter whether you're telling people about it or not. And this is being real honest. Recently, I have started like documenting a lot more on my socials. And I have found that to help me ensure that I am even more fucking consistent, because I'm like, this is great for me. I've got fucking eyeballs on me now. And I like it because it just, I'm like, well, I am going to just keep going. I am going to make sure I'm doing what I'm saying I'm going to do, because I have more people looking at me. It's like another level of accountability.
Yeah, I think when we first talked about this, actually, we talked about this idea of being on socials more. I remember we both... we first went on holiday together, and we was like, oh, I don't know what, I just don't want to spend so much time on my phone. And we saw, Poppy, and I was like, she's on her phone a lot, it was like, I think there was a part of me that just didn't want that level of accountability as well, like having to show up every day, and it's hard. You've talked about it, showing up every day. You're like phenomenal at this. Like, this is actually like the silent assassin in the room. Is like, you're seeing you've posted on socials like 50 times a day for the last 5-10 years, like, but not even just like little updates. You'll write the works of Shakespeare. You really show up, don't you? Like, this is just a practice for you now.
Yeah, but I think also coming back to what you said, right? You said that we'll talk about the thing that men do. We'll say, well, I have tomorrow, right? And the reason why men aren't structurally disciplined is exactly this, right? So there's two things. Number one is, we all, existential psychologists call this our death denial, right? So I act like I'm never going to die. And because I'm never going to die, I therefore put things off, right? And the second part is we act as if no one is seeing us, right? And those two things, the biggest bullshit delusion. Number one, that I'm going to live forever. I can put off everything. I don't need to be disciplined today. And the fact is that no one is seeing me, right? And what we do know, right? And so the Greek philosophers talked about this, right? That they had this concept of, so imagine a reporter comes to you. So a award-winning reporter from the New York Times or the Guardian or whatever, and says to you, Benjamin, today I'm going to follow you, right? I'm going to follow you around, whatever you do. I'm going to document everything that you do. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give you a report on what you did. So everything you do, the good, the bad, the procrastination, the getting angry, the putting shit off, the doom scrolling, Instagram, jerking off to porn, smoking weed, drinking, whatever, they document, right? And at the end of the day, they come to you and say to you, well, you know what? This is what you did from the moment you got up to the moment you went to bed, right? And now everything that you've done is going to leave a mark on your soul, right? How would you feel?
Oh, I definitely would have typed that into the search bar.
Yeah. No, I said the other day, live your life like a movie, and Yazine was taking the piss out of me. But I tell you what, that's a great way to look at things, right? As though you're being recorded. And then someone's going to watch your movie at the end of the day. Guess what?
You are being recorded. So the Greeks call this your daimon, right? Your inner soul. As psychologists today, we call this your psyche, yourself, right? There literally is, right? Someone observing you every moment of every day. It is your inner self. Yourself, your psyche, your subconscious, your unconscious, whatever you want to do, actually records you. From the moment you get up till the moment you go to sleep, every action you take, the good, the bad, the not so good, right? And guess what it does? it leaves an imprint on your subconscious, on your soul. So that's number one, right? Number two, so Maslow talked about this idea that in any given moment, right, we have a choice. Either I'm moving forward in growth or I'm moving backwards into psychopathology, right? And so moment to moment, we make this choice, right? And so this thing is, right? So you see this, right? I get up today, I think, well, you know what, I'm going to live till 50, 60, 70 years more, right? So I don't need to be structurally disciplined. I therefore do all of this shit, right? I smoke weed, I procrastinate, I jerk off to porn, I doom scroll, I don't do what I say I'm going to do, right? Guess what, right? So in this moment, I get a choice. Am I reactive? Am I doing this or am I not doing this, right? So my choice in this moment is, guess what? I'm doing the thing that's bad for my soul and for my psyche. So now this has made a mark on my psyche. You do one of those things, two of those things, three of those things, guess what? So in as positive psychologists, we talk about this idea that if you see your life, right, or mental health as a line scale, right? So 0 is base human performance, like normal mental health. 10 is peak performance, and minus 10 is like serious psychopathology, schizophrenia, paranoia, a complete break from reality, right? And so most of us as men, right, we in that range between 0 to 5, 0 to 6, right? So do you see this? Every time I made this choice, I'm not disciplined, right? Because I think to myself, well, you know what? I'm going to live till another 50, I have 50 years to get disciplined, right? So my choice is I'm going to let whatever the kryptonite, all the little kryptonite does, fuck me up, right? So now I'm 5, now I'm 4.75, then I'm 4.5, then I'm 4, right? I keep on making those choices. Then guess what? I'm 1, I'm 0, right? Then I'm -1. And when I hit -1, guess what? I'm now in psychopathology. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I have regrets about my life. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I think.
So, and I think because we don't realize that we think that we're going to live forever, right? And so therefore we don't make good choices. We're not disciplined, right? And because I'm not disciplined, I do the stuff that actually fucks up my soul and my psyche, right? And when you accumulate all of those things day to day, moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month, right? You see that so Maslow said that moment to moment, you either step forward in growth or backwards into safety and mediocrity, right? And from what our current understanding of psychopathology is that when you step backwards, right, it's not actually into safety, because too many of those backward steps, and you're actually into psychopathology. You actually made yourself, and then we ask ourselves, well, why do men have 3 times, right, the suicide rate of women, right? Why is the rate of depression and anxiety, right, so much higher amongst men? And I think it's this because we've deluded ourselves into belief I'm going to live forever. I don't need to be disciplined today. I can be disciplined in 5 years' time. And we don't realize that those tiny choices I make of not being disciplined, right, literally leaves a mark on my soul. And when I add up all of those things up, right, I've literally caused myself to end up being depressed. I've caused myself to be psychopathological.
Yeah. Here's something that, you know, I've witnessed in myself on those tiny little things. I fucking know, like consciously, deep down, I know that there's a right choice, and then there is a probably like a wrong choice for me to be undisciplined in that moment. I know consciously, like, whether I'm going to jerk off to something or whether I'm going to stay in bed or whether I'm, not going to, say to my now ex-wife, but say to the woman that I love her, right? And I don't say it, but I know consciously that I should say it, but I just don't do it anyway. And it's like those little things, moment to moment to moment, that you repeat over and over and over, and you think they're tiny little things. Consciously, but it's only tiny. And then, like you say, you're stepping back, and before you know it, you're in moments of depression.
Yeah, I think this is what my awakening man journey was. I think this was, when we first started working together, I just had so many of these things that I was doing. I was, I joked about having a regular porn habit. My reaction to struggles in my relationship was to text other women, to look at other women on Facebook, or to that was one of my habits to deal with struggles or stress in my relationship. I had ill-disciplined focus habits in my business. There was a lot of that. This was the biggest part of my. On a Friday, I would go and get drunk, or not. Sorry, I wouldn't have like 10 pints. I'd have like 2 or 3 drinks, which meant the following day I wasn't as sharp, I didn't have as good sleep, I didn't feel as effective, I wasn't as lean as I could be. And I probably was what I would call the mediocre man. I was living way below my potential. And I think the first conversation I had with Yassine was, I'm not as far as I want to be in life. That was what I said. I was like, I'm not where I know I can be. And I just noticed like just reining in these habits one after another. And by no means was I an addict in any of these arenas. I wasn't an addict. I didn't have a porn addiction. I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't, some sort of womanizer. I just had a couple of behaviors that needed some discipline around them. And it has been hard, but I tell you what, my life is way easier now. Now I've reined those in. And I think this is what I help men with enormously, is just working out what are these kryptonites, what are these little resistance points, and just help them nip them in the bud, get rid of them, either, reduce them to the point where they're not even a problem. And having watched a lot of the guys on both Heroic Man and Awaken Man do exactly the same, it's just been a little bit of attention here, there, and everywhere, and they are so much more potent. And I use potent as a really, it's a really intentional word, because I think the amount of force that you need to generate to move forward in your life, it's forward momentum, isn't it? It's like you need that forward momentum. And what I've noticed is, as I've started to generate that forward momentum, my life is moved forward. I've changed my life enormously. And I think it brings us on to the final one, the final type of discipline that we want to talk about in today's podcast, which is expansive discipline. And I think this is probably the missing part of the puzzle for me personally, and I'm still cultivating this, still working on it enormously, is the ability to make the difficult choice and grow my life, to see a big version of my life and step into it one step at a time. And the way I talk about this is the ability to simultaneously have big visions and take tiny actions. And I think that's a major part of, and I'm very good at taking the tiny actions, but sometimes I limit myself on how big I can see the visions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about having a long-term, an absolutely long-term vision, and a shorter-term plan, and then a daily execution. That's that. And it's being disciplined in all those arenas to be able to have that daily execution, but have that expansive discipline that you're talking about, to have that bigger vision.
Yeah, I think this is where I resonated with Phil Stutz's work so much, is that he said that when you learn to turn towards pain in your life will change. And it's seeing those bigger, scarier steps steps forward as just pain, and reversing the desire to move away from pain. And I just say to myself, bring it on, I can do this. And we talked about this today, didn't we? It's like this.
But can I say something here about, so Phil, when he talks about pain, there's a physical pain, and then there's a metaphorical pain. And I think we forget that as a psychologist, right, what is he talking about, right? What is the biggest pain that as humans we contend with? It's this idea, especially for us as men, right, is to realize that, guess what? I'm fucking mortal. I am going to die. I'm not immortal, right? This idea that my life is finite is literally the biggest psychological pain. This is what existential psychologists like Viktor Frankl talked about, right? Is the fact that from the moment you're born, you literally are dead. A dead man walk in, right? And so the biggest psychological pain you face, right, is this fear of death, right? And because you have to live with the pain that I'm literally not guaranteed to live a year or 2 years or 3 years from down the line. And the Phil says that you have to come to this idea and this realization that you are not exonerated from what? What are you not exonerated? You're not exonerated from the fact that you are going to fucking die, right? And no, but it is. If I realize that my life is finite, I could literally die. I could get a heart attack right now and die. I could get a stroke and die. I could have an aneurysm and die. I could walk out, right? And a car could knock me down and I'm fucking dead, right? All I have is this moment right now, right? So guess what? In this moment, I have a choice. Either I'm moving towards growth. because I think I know that this moment in life, right? No, my choice, no matter how fucking painful it is, right? To fight that fucking urge to not jerk off to porn, to fight that urge not to get the next dopamine hit from smoking weed or alcohol or doom scrolling Facebook and my notifications, whatever, right? Why? Because this could literally be my last moment on the planet. And therefore, if I died right now, would I want to die with my dick in my fucking hands and Pornhub open on my computer in front of me? Would I want to die while I'm doom scrolling Facebook? Do you see that? And that is when Phil talks about expensive discipline, right? It's this thing that you never exonerated from this idea that, well, guess what? You are fucking mortal. All you have is this moment, right? And so then it's moment to moment to moment, right?
Yeah, I think the way he says it is you're never, the three constants in life: pain, uncertainty, and constant work. And your ability to turn towards those things is what inevitably you're trying to foster when you have expansive discipline.
Yeah, but remember, it's the pain of accepting that I'm mortal, that I could die right now, and therefore in this moment I have a choice. I can accept the pain that I'm mortal, that I'm not guaranteed 5 years, 10 years down the line, right? And therefore in this moment, am I making the choice, right? That is. So as psychologists, we talk about this idea that we all have choice points, moment to moment to moment, right? So I practice a form of psychotherapy called acceptance and commitment therapy, right? So in this, we say, well, you have 2 points. In any choice, you have 2 points. Either I can move towards, right, a life, a meaningful life that's in accordance with my values, or I can move away from, right? You see that's a choice point. And if I say to myself, well, this choice is the only choice I have, because the next choice, in the next moment, I could be dead. Right? Therefore, right? Yes, to take action that's in alignment with my values might actually be fucking painful, because I might have to do things that I'm not comfortable with. It might have to do things that fucking pushes me out of my comfort zone. I might have to do physical fucking hard labor or whatever the thing is, right? Or I can choose, like Hercules, the choice of Hercules. I can choose the easy life, right? I can just move away from. Does it make sense to you?
So is that expansive discipline? So just to be clear on what expansive discipline is, it's to be able to push into the discomfort and the pain.
No, so expansive discipline literally is how do you expand yourself and your soul? Again, right? It's this thing, because what is expansive discipline? It's this idea that ultimately our goal is to expand our soul and ourself, right? Become the best version of ourselves. The question is, how do I embody that best version of me? You expand yourself, your personal development, your soul, whatever you call it, your psyche, by moment to moment to moment making that choice, right? Doing the fucking hard stuff.
Yeah, making the power moves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not doing
we were talking about this.
Not doing the things that
make you
fuck
weak.
up. Yes.
Yeah.
Not doing the kryptonite. Not being in a situation where you're exposed to kryptonite. It's like the thing about weight loss, right? They say, as psychologists, you tell clients, well, if you want to lose weight, right, then buy your willpower at the grocery store.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's like in every facet, in every arena, food can make your body incredible, and it can make you seriously fat. Social media can grow your life exponentially, or it all comes down to, like, the same people. We both have to eat. One person decides to overeat. One person decides to make a choice to eat within their goals, the way that they want. They're going to have a fantastic body. The same thing. Two people can be on Facebook, social media. One has made a decision to doom scroll, to consume. The other person has made the decision to produce.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is this is why I've enjoyed this idea of, recently been documenting more. And actually, I'm just going to become a phenomenal producer, and it's that choice. I've noticed considerably as I've produced way more, I've consumed way less, and it's the same in my fitness. It's the same in my business. It's the same in every area of my life. When I decide to produce more, like when I've decided to produce more with my kids and produce better time, I've found myself numbing way less as well. But I think one of the things I've noticed though, for men especially with this one, expansive discipline, you absolutely need to be around other men who are embodying this. I think if you're in isolation, you call yourself the lone wolf, you're telling yourself that, I can hand on heart, spending time with Pete and Yassine has helped me see. Like I had a fish, we talked about a fishbowl, but I didn't create a bigger fishbowl. And we talked after the last men's business. It's not about creating a bigger fishbowl. It's about not seeing way beyond that. There is a fishbowl. There's a whole ocean, and I can choose to expand as much as I choose. And I was really grateful you came and shared that with me after the session in men's business, because I was like, actually, hang on a second. Yeah, I used to have this little fishbowl of North Wales where I'd grow to a certain level. I was comfortable. I was happy. But then, what was next? Well, should I create another fishbowl in another town and have 2 fishbowls and I've grown? Or do I try and create a movement which will transcend, lives across the globe? And I was like, nah, do you know what? I want that challenge. I want to do that. And that's from being around Pete, Yassine, the guys that we work with every single day. Is like, well, why the fuck not? Why would I not do that? And I think something that I've noticed is that every single Friday, when guys are reporting what they're grateful for, the wins, the struggles they've had, there's a group of men all choosing that harder decision to make more of their lives. And that's what's incredible about what we do. And I think that's what helps guys just... And I think that if you're trying to create a habit or a way of being, it's go and join a club or getting around a place where your desired behavior is the norm in that place. And if you're looking to be more expansive with the discipline and the way that you see your life, get around a group of guys doing the same. I think let's bring this one to a close, guys. And I thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. I just want to recap quickly the 3 disciplines that you as a man can embody to make your life way, way easier over the next, 10, 15, 20, 50 years of your life, right? It's, first of all, it was reactive discipline, the ability to not react to the outside world, the stimuluses that are presented in your life. You've got then structural discipline, creating structures that keep you on task, that keep you focused, that keep you on mission. And then the final one was expansive discipline, seeing your life in a much, much bigger way and stepping into it moment to moment to moment. So if you've enjoyed the podcast, it's great to have Yassine and Pete and myself in the podcast studio together. Can you do us a huge favor? Can you go and hit the subscribe button on Spotify or iTunes? This will also be on YouTube. So if you've watched it on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We endeavor to bring you more conversations like this. And thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.